You're listening to A Way with Words, the show about language and how we use it. I'm Grant Barrett.
And I'm Martha Barnett. And Grant, when you and I do speaking engagements around the country, there's one question that always seems to come up during the Q&A.
Well, besides, how can I do what you do?
Right, right.
What are you thinking of?
I'm thinking of how often we get asked, what's your favorite word?
Oh, that's a hard one. It's so hard. And you and I both have kind of the same stock response, which is, it's like choosing your favorite child or your favorite star in the sky.
Yes.
But people do have favorite children and they do have favorite stars in the sky.
Well, yeah, and sometimes things change, and that's what I was going to say is that I have a new favorite word.
All right.
Across.
This is a moment. Let's have it.
Okay, all right. Maybe you already know this. The word is gongoozler.
Wow. Okay. Lovely. Lots of potential here. Talk to us about it.
Yeah. Okay. Gongoozler. That's Gongoozler. A gongoozler is somebody who stands around watching things. And the cool thing about the history of this word is that it comes from the slang of canal workers in Britain in the late 18th and early 19th century. There's a 1904 glossary of canal terms that defines gongoozler as an idle and inquisitive person who stands staring for prolonged periods at anything out of the common.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that. It's such a specific term, but it reminds me so much. What's the Italian term for the old men staring at construction sites?
Yeah, I thought you might mention that umarell.
Umarell. Yeah, absolutely. Just kind of foaming at the mouth over this cool thing that's happening, and it's just speaking directly to their souls.
Right. These older guys who just go around and watch construction workers and comment, and it's very endearing, I think.
Instead of staring aimlessly at your phone or gaping in wonder at the language, you can call or text toll-free in the United States and Canada, 877-929-9673. Email words@waywardradio.org or go to our website and find a lot more ways to reach out at waywardradio.org. Hello, you have A Way with Words.
Hello. My name is Caitlin Culbertson, and I'm calling from Dallas, Texas.
Welcome to the show, Caitlin. Dallas is one of our favorite towns. We've had so many good shows there when we've hit the road. But what's on your mind today?
Well, as I'm entering my 7th decade, my body is betraying me. And one of the ways it's doing it is I'm getting that old lady arm flap underneath your arms.
Oh, no.
And when I refer to it to my friends, I call them flying Betties. And everybody looks at me like I'm nuts. But my whole life, the old women in my life, born in the 1890s, they all called their underarm extra skin flying Betties. But I went and looked it up on the internet, and I couldn't find it anywhere. So what are flying Betties? Where did that come from?
Well, hold on a second, Caitlin. Let's get to the bottom of this. So you're talking, how many women are we talking about who use this term in your world? A dozen, 2 dozen?
Yeah, pretty much all over Texas.
But only your family, not your friends or your coworkers.
Oh, friends and coworkers are too young to use things like that.
That's the secret
70.
to life, is hanging out with younger people. They'll keep you energetic.
Yeah, and I do, but they all look at me like I'm crazy, and then they give me that, what is she saying? Let's not listen to this.
I got to tell you, Caitlin, as somebody whose body is betraying him because of age as well, I've got flying billies, we might call them, on the way. So.
Oh, excellent. I love that.
Yeah, so Caitlin, you're talking about you're standing there in a sleeveless dress, and it's the part that keeps waving even after you stop, right?
Correct. Now, I have heard them called flying bats.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
bat wings.
But never Betties.
Yeah, bat wings are sometimes called.
Bat wings, that's it.
Yeah, I'm actually more familiar with the term hello Betties. You know, the same idea that you're like waving to Betty over there and it just keeps waving.
Well, Martha, I think the term is hi Betties, not hello Betties, right?
Oh, I've heard both.
Oh, and Hello
Betty.
Helens. But I'm wondering
Yeah.
if Hi Betty and Flying Betties, those sound so much alike. I wonder if there's some kind of bleed in from one into the other.
Well, I imagine there is a connection there. And the whole idea of them being sort of like wings, I've heard some people call them flying squirrels.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
or
my.
or bingo wings, you're sitting there playing bingo and you get bingo and you raise your hand and you're waving it. And again, I think that's more common in the UK. But Caitlin, you'll be interested to know that there are lots of expressions like this all around the world. I love the German one, Winkerarme, which is waving arm.
Yeah.
And in
Arma.
Winkerarme.
Okay, I'm going to have to try and memorize that one.
Yeah, Winkearme. And then in Brazil, you talk about tchauzinhos, which are little goodbyes.
Oh.
Oh, how cute.
And there's also a Chinese term that translates as bye-bye meat.
That's not so cute.
Oh, that's the best.
Well, the Swedish one is järhäng, which means pike hang, Pike, because they look kind of like the soft underbelly of the northern pike fish. So the pike hang.
Golly gee willy whiffers. That's a lot of crazy.
Caitlin, do you know who has the most of these? The Australians. The Australians seem to
Really?
believe that English is meant to be embellished with a lot of vigor, and they go for it. And so there's a book of Australian slang by the journalist and author Kel Richards, and he has, I think, 15 terms for this from Australia, including auntie arms, the nanas, the tuck shop lady arms. The tuck shop is a shop that sells sweets and things to school kids. Goodbye muscles, piano arms, reverse biceps, which I really love, and so does he.
Ooh, that's nice.
The
Oh, that's
wobblies, the buy
hilarious.
nows, the ta-ta flaps, and then this one, the widow's curtains.
Oh.
The widow's what?
Curtains, the widow's curtains.
Ooh,
Yeah,
that's cool.
that one's got some spirit to it, I think.
So, Caitlin, you're not alone in this. And I'm surprised this is only just now a problem for you. I remember taking a salsa class in my 30s and, in a sleeveless dress. And I looked up at my arms in the mirror and it was like, oh, no.
But Caitlin, I gotta say, your good-natured laughing about this is just the right way to handle it, I think.
Yeah, and I'm a crazy old woman, and I raced bicycles for 15 years. And then when I turned 40, I got bored and took up skydiving. So I've always been athletic and slimmer, but now as I'm aging, finally at 70, I'm starting to flap.
Yeah. It'll happen to us all, even those of us who don't have that amazing lifestyle. What a lifestyle that is, road racing and skydiving.
Oh, it's the most fun you can have with your clothes on.
You can do it naked, too, by the way. Caitlin, thank you so much for your wonderful call. Call us again sometime, all right?
Okay, thank you so much for enlightening me.
Yeah, sure.
Bye-bye.
Be well.
Caitlin.
Bye-bye.
Are you waving?
I'm waving.
I'm waving.
I'm
We're all
waving. My buddies are flying.
Well, you know what? I bet there are even more terms out there floating around. We'd love to hear about them. If you have a different term for those flabby upper arms, give us a call or call about any aspect of language, 877-929-9673. Hi, you have a way with words.
Hi, Martha. This is Robin. I'm calling from San Luis Obispo, California.
Hey, Robin. Glad to have you. What's up?
My family were watching a sporting event, me and my mom and my dad, and we heard the term a flash in the pan for an athlete who, performed very well for a short period of time and then sort of fizzled out. And we were talking about that between the three of us, and we're just wondering about the origins of that. My parents thought maybe it had something to do with gold mining, a flash of gold in a pan. I hadn't really ever given it too much thought, but when I'd heard that before, I'd thought of like flambe, or using wine in cooking and something flaring up. And instead of Googling the origin, we thought that it would be more fun to give you guys a call.
Well, we are glad that you called. So the pan we're talking about here is a different pan, and it's not as common as those other ones. At least it isn't now, but it used to be. And it's the pan on a flintlock musket where you put the powder. And so a flash in a pan is a misfire because the powder burns, but the gun doesn't really fire. So you put the powder in the pan, you pull the trigger, the hammer strikes a flint, makes a spark, the powder goes poof, and it's supposed to travel, the fire that's made is supposed to travel through a touch hole to ignite the main charge that's in the barrel. But when you have a flash in a pan, that last part doesn't happen. You only get the initial burst of poof of the powder and nothing else. And so it's an explosion that doesn't really lead to much, just exactly the same way we use it figuratively now. And we have it in a literal sense from the very early 1700s and from a figurative sense from the very early 1800s. And it was described, I think the very first non-literal use I know of, they were talking about a journey that was slow to start. So not quite the same sense, but sometimes it's about hesitating more than it is about having an initial success and then petering out to nothing. So there's a couple different nuances there that have changed over the years.
Well, that's very interesting that, I thought that both of our thoughts could be were perfectly valid, but they were
they're
not the right one.
Not the right ones. And another one that often comes up that is also not right is old style photography, where you have this pan full of powder to make the flash so that you can get a lot of extra light on your subject.
Okay.
Martha, we have a bunch of these from that era of weaponry, right? From the flintlock era.
Yeah, I'm trying to think muskets and
well, I'm talking about half-cocked, where the literal became figurative. Yeah. Or lock, stock, and barrel, or keep your powder dry. Or if we talk about somebody being ramrod straight, the ramrod is this long, straight tool you use to drive that charge home in the barrel.
Right.
And it's at one time people would think of a ramrod as a very good example of a straight thing, but we just don't have that intimacy with that kind of weapon anymore.
Yeah, I would never have guessed that was something that came from weaponry.
Yeah,
but that's very interesting.
Yeah, unlike baseball, which is still a regular part of everyday life and has given us so much figurative language, this is passed on into history. So we don't have that daily intimacy with that kind of weaponry that we used to, when it might have been at one time the very first thing you thought of because you knew it more than anything else. You knew it more than flambe cooking or gold panning.
Right.
Sure.
Expressions live on. Yeah. Well, Robin, thanks for the question, and say hello to your parents for us.
No, absolutely will. Thank you guys so much.
Sure, yeah. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
877-929-9673.
Words on Parade as A Way with Words continues.
You're listening to A Way with Words, the show about language and how we use it. I'm Martha Barnett.
And I'm Grant Barrett, and joining us wearing a tinfoil hat and carrying a ball of red yarn, it's our quiz guy, John Chinesky. Hi, John.
I'm telling you guys, I have it all figured out, and they can't stop me. There's the language conspiracies. I know every single one of them, and we'll talk about that later. But first, I have a quiz for you. Now, if you're like me, you like to travel the world, but you don't have time or resources. Luckily, language can help you get you where you want to be. So you just listen to conversations around you. You'll get to many, many wonderful countries. For example, I overheard someone say, "I try to be organized, but I'm just not. I made 2 lists. Here's the pro list, but where did the..." And then he finished with a country in Africa. He said, "Congo."
Where did the Congo go?
Yeah, where did the Congo? So I'm like,
no.
It's just like traveling to another land. It really is.
It really is not, but we'll play anyway.
Well, there we go. I'll give you an overheard sentence. You finish it with the name of a country. Here we Congo. Here on the farm, we don't drink coffee. We just take the dry grass from the barn, steep it, and make ourselves some delicious...
Haiti.
Haiti! Some Haiti.
Oh, God. It took me a second. Okay, I think Martha might come out ahead on this one.
I guarantee you that doesn't
She
taste
leapt
too good.
forward immediately with the correct answer.
Grant was picturing a real farm, I'm sure.
I
Bringing back
was.
memories.
I was thinking about sunny meadows filled with daisies.
I'm sure that hey tea tastes about as good as the pun. Anyway, let's move on. Listen, man, I could tell your daughter didn't want to clean her room, but did
To Jamaica.
Jamaica? Did Jamaica?
Oh,
Yeah,
ouch.
you made her
Oh.
clean her room.
Also a
Good.
terrible pun. I'm keeping a list of
Terrible.
your offenses.
Okay, I'll atone for them eventually, I'm sure. I am unable to reach the bowl on the top shelf. What about you?
You tall.
I-
You tall?
I am tall, but I still can't
going
reach
to
the bowl
Utah?
on the top shelf.
going to Salt
What
Lake
about
City?
you? Not at all. No.
Are you tall?
No.
Is it something about reach?
Think about the Great Rift Valley in Africa.
But Kenya?
Yeah, Kenya?
But Kenya.
my gosh.
Terrible.
What about
This
you,
is
Kenya?
really terrible. Even I think these puns are terrible.
I know. This snow is coming down really hard. I'd better head to the town garage and fetch the...
Okay, the snow's coming down, going to the garage. It's a thing in the garage. It sounds like a country, but it's a terrible pun.
Yeah. Something plow?
Whoa! I think you had it. Think about countries, island countries, oceanic
Oh,
archipelagos.
Palau. Yeah.
Palau.
Palau.
Okay, that was funny.
That's correct. Similarly, these campfire treats are delicious. You see, they're just crackers and chocolate and marshmallow. Wow! Can I have
Samoa?
Samoa? Yes, the independent state in Polynesia of Samoa.
Oh, John, you could make a whole career out of these terrible, terrible, terrible puns.
And if any listener wants to join us, they can call or text toll free 877-929-9673 or email words@waywardradio.org.
Hey there, you have a way with words.
Hi, I'm Amy in Atlanta.
Hey, Amy, we're glad to have you. What made you take time out of your busy day to give us a call?
So I'm a historian. I do walking tours, and I really like walking around the city and pointing out details in the city to folks to see how the way there are clues in the landscape that remind us of history. So one of the tours I do, we go on a little tiny street called Airline Street. But Airline Street's nowhere near the airport. Atlanta's famous for its airport today, but the street name goes back before that. It goes back to it's adjacent to the rail line that is a block away.
Yeah.
And there used to be a train called the Airline Bell that ran down that railroad. So my guests never make that connection when I point out Airline Street to the idea that it's about railroads. So I've always been curious, how did the term airline become used for that new industry of railroads? And then how did that term transition to the aviation industry as it got started?
Oh, Amy, this
boy.
is such an interesting question because it leads us to such interesting things. One of them is that when you look in digitized newspapers and journals, you can find the word airline many, many years before airplanes were ever invented, before anyone could fly. Almost before Icarus, but not quite, but really far back. And your connection of that airline railway to the name of that street is exactly on the money. When you did that, and there was a ding, ding, ding that went off in my head, and it wasn't just because you said the airline bell, and I assume that's Belle, meaning the beautiful one, right?
Correct.
Beautiful lady. And this is because there's this thing, a particular usage of airline that they use in construction, but particularly for railways. And all it means is as the crow flies, a straight shot. Airline. But if you took this path in the air and not on the ground, there'd be, and with nothing in your way, straight through. And so when we're talking about railways in particular, they used airline or airline route for the shortest distance between 2 points, but they used it kind of as a marketing tool as well because people wanted to know that their train wasn't going to meander all over the landscape. It was going to go to A to B, straight as could be, with nothing in between.
Okay, that makes great sense.
So it's a line through the air, literally.
Yeah, it's like a beeline.
A beeline, yeah.
Yeah.
A beeline. So then when the aviation industry got started, they were really focused on that same idea that it's an airline, not that it is you are in the air?
No, they weren't. That actually has a different source. Think of ocean liners and
Correct.
airliners. So airline is kind of a reduction of the idea of the term of airliner. So,
I see. All right.
yeah, so it's more connected to the idea of a liner. It's something that has a line, a point. It's still a line. It's still a connection from point A to point B, but it's less about the directness of it.
And it was often two words, right? And then
Yeah,
eventually got
airline.
smashed
Sometimes
into
there's
one.
open compound or closed compound, hyphen or
Yeah.
space in there. But yeah, so look
Yeah,
for
I've
both.
seen it both ways.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, take care. Thanks, Amy. We really appreciate it. And
Thanks for
have fun
calling.
on those tours. If I get to Atlanta, I'm going to look you up.
Me too.
Please
That sounds
do.
great.
Yeah, what a town
Please
with
do.
deep history. I'd love to find out more. Take care of yourself.
All right. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Amy. Bye-bye.
Well, we know that happens to you all the time. You find you've been using a word every day, and you're like, wait a second, do I even know what I'm saying? Well, this is the place to figure it out. Call or text toll-free in the United States and Canada, 877-929-9673, or email words@waywardradio.org.
Grant, you remember that call we had from Jane in Cape Cod, Massachusetts? She's the one who directs a women's choir called Common Voices, and she was looking for a word for what their group does when they gather to sing just for the joy of singing and community rather than working toward a rehearsal.
Right. So it was nothing official. They just came together. Wasn't a performance. Wasn't practice.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, it's funny. I always say this, but we get so much response. We get so much response to questions like this. We had a lot of good ideas.
We had a ton of them. People really stepped up to help. And it's a long list of suggestions that they offered. Among them were Songfest, Enchanted Evening, Session, Choral Fellowship, Song Circle, like a knitting circle, or a sing-along. And actually, Jane wrote us after that with a list of words that she's thought about since she talked with us. And that list includes the words singamajig and synchronize.
Oh, nice. Those actually sound like the names of a cappella groups, though.
They kind of do.
They're
don't
always
they?
very punny, aren't they?
Singamajig. But, you know, there's one other one that we got from Sandy Jones. She lives in Toronto, Canada. And she noted that in the same way we say, I had a good think about something, maybe
Yeah.
the choir could just call their time together a sing, as in, I'm looking forward to next week's sing. And I really like that.
Oh, I particularly like it if you put the adjective good in front of it. Let's have a good sing. We had a good sing.
Nice.
We've got a good sing scheduled for next week.
I like that. Well, if you want to have a good chat with us, you can call or text anytime. It's toll-free in the U.S. and Canada. The number is 877-929-9673.
Hello, you have a way with words.
Hi, this is Josh calling from Jacksonville.
Hi, Josh from Jacksonville. What's on your mind?
Well, I was watching the Artemis launch recently, and it was as epic as it was. I was thrown off a little bit because as they're talking about the details and everything, they said, you know, something about the positioning had to change just a tad. And it got me thinking about how, you know, specific they were being, but then going to just a tad threw me off. And I'm like, where did we even get that from? Like, just a tad, just a little bit.
So you said that they were being specific, but do you feel like tad is kind of a measurement for scientists? Like the rocket scientists would be using a tad? Why didn't they say like a centimeter?
Right. Yeah. Or something way more actually specific. No, this was it. That's why it threw me off so much.
Gotcha.
Being that, you know, everything has to be perfect with a launch like that, especially going around the moon. And yeah, it just made me think, like, where did we get that measurement, a tad? And like it could mean so many different things, but obviously it's just a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. It's a little bit weird to see it in a scientific context. The word tad meaning a small amount, it's a little bit of a mystery how that meaning came about, but it probably began as American slang for a small child in the mid 19th century. And actually, Abraham Lincoln's son, who was named Thomas, acquired the nickname Tad very early. Some people will say that tad is just a shortened form of tadpole. Um,
Ah,
and that Abraham Lincoln's son had a big head and a little body and wiggled around a lot, and that's why they called him Tad. I suspect it had to do that the sense of tad meaning small amount just kind of arose because it's a small, it's in that class of words they're just tiny words.
Yeah, and the other part, there's two other things I want to toss in here, Martha. One is it looks like most of the sources and references that say it comes from tadpole all got that information from the Oxford English Dictionary. But the Oxford English Dictionary entry hasn't been updated in a really long time, and I suspect when they update it, that purported etymology will either disappear or be reduced in importance. Because we have expressions like tit for tat, which is kind of a quid pro quo when you do you push back or return an action to somebody, usually a mean one. And there's no reason that the tit and tat in that expression couldn't also have come to the fore as broken down into component parts. And it may have come from tip for tap, T-A-P. And all these small words are confusing, and their likelihood of appearing from many sources at any time makes it really impossible to know if they're for sure related or they were devised independently or what exactly happened.
oh
And,
wow.
and we have this other whole thing, too. There's this cluster of words from the American South that mean small, including tad and tat, but also tadic and todic and tattle. And those could be kind of pet forms or hypochoristic forms of longer words made short in order to represent small things or small people. So it's just too confusing here. But Martha's gist I can back completely, which is it's an American term, came around in the mid-1800s. Those things are for certain. Anything else is guesswork.
Sounds appropriate being such an American term then for the Artemis launch.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, come to think of it.
I love the idea that there's a bunch of rocket scientists going like, yeah, just nudge it a little bit. You don't have to measure. Eyeball it. Do
Holding
it
up
by
the
the seat of your
thumb.
pants, guys. It'll get there.
And check it 12 times. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's pretty much what we know about Ted.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I've been using it without questioning it for so long, and then hearing it in that context just made it just stuck out like a sore thumb. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
Well, we appreciate the time, Josh. Take care of yourself.
Thank you.
All right,
Bye.
bye-bye.
Thanks, Josh. Bye-bye. Well, maybe you came across a word that you've said all your life and then you saw it in a different context and you thought, what? Where did that word come from? What does it really mean? You can call to talk about it, 877-929-9673, or send an email to words@waywardradio.org. Hi there, you have a way with words.
Hey, this is Jill calling from Greenville, South Carolina.
Hey, Jill.
Hi,
We're
Jill.
glad to have you.
Today I'm calling to talk to you about pickles.
Oh, yes, please. I love pickles.
Me too.
Pickles. Okay.
What are you thinking about in terms of pickles?
Well, I am curious as why is it that when we say pickles, everyone just automatically assumes pickled cucumbers? So if you ask someone if they want pickles on their sandwich like you just did, it's implied that you're talking about pickled cucumbers. But for other pickled foods, you always have to specify like pickled onions, pickled carrots, and so on. I'm just curious if there's like a linguistic reason as to why cucumbers became the default pickle. And if there are other examples like this where one specific food becomes like the unspoken standard. I was thinking like the closest I could think of is fries, which we're implying is fried potatoes, when anything else has to be spelled out like fried fish or, for example, fried pickles. So
Yeah.
I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, Jill, amazing. This is great because there's a ton of cool stuff we can talk about here. And a lot of it has to do with food. There's a word that we keep bringing up on the show these days, and it's prototypicality. It's the idea that something is prototypical and that when you mention it, there's one particular prototype of this kind of thing that pops into your mind. There's a kind of a generic idea that you may have. Now, it can differ from person to person, but generally these are culturally shared. They're because we all come from the same basic culture. So,
Mm-hmm.
for example, something has floated for years in the historian community is the idea that in 1,000 years, if they're looking at our cookbooks and somebody reads, the recipe needs 2 eggs, in 1,000
Mm-hmm.
years, they might not know that we meant chicken eggs. And they'd be like, well, what do they want? Hummingbirds? Emus? I don't know what kind of egg they want in this recipe. That's because for us, the prototypical egg is a chicken egg. And we find
Very
this again and
interesting.
again. Corn is a really great example because corn is a historical example. It used to refer to any grain seed, but now, at least in the United States and North America, we generally mean maize, M-A-I-Z-E. Whereas you have this other idea, which is, so for us, corn is prototypically maize, but for other people it isn't. Meat went to the same root. It used to mean just general food, anything that you would put on the table and eat. And then it became prototypically the flesh of an animal. If I say, do you want to go for a drink? What do you assume?
Alcohol, yeah.
Alcohol. Yeah, we're not going to get warm milk, probably. Unless one of us is under drinking age. So again and again, we find with food that this happens. It happened with the word plum.
Oh,
Plum
yeah.
historically meant dried grapes. And
Mm-hmm.
marmalade wasn't always made from oranges. It was made from quince. And so the prototypicality of that changed.
So many good examples. That's awesome.
So yeah, there's a ton of
Uh-huh.
these. So anyway, so just generally what happens is we develop a cultural understanding that we agree upon generally, and there are obviously exceptions to this, but generally we culturally agree that this one generic version of this category is what we all agree we mean when we say something like pickled.
Yeah, it does seem
Mm.
weird if you think about it. Like, why did cucumbers win?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
I think it's the same reason that there's that time of year where you can't go home without finding the neighbors who left cucumbers and zucchini on the porch. There's just so many cucumbers in the world.
So, Jill, does that help?
Yes, that completely answered my question. More than answered my
Always,
question. Thank
always
you
in
so
full.
much.
Well, great.
Always in full. Always too much. Thank you for saying that in a
No,
polite
I
way.
love all that information. That was awesome. Thank you so much. I'm gonna go tell all my friends about this.
Yes, please. And look up the word prototypicality for more.
I will. Thank you so much. I appreciate you too.
Sure. We appreciate
Thanks,
you.
Jill.
Thank you. Take care of
Take
yourself.
care.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Call or text 877-929-9673.
There's more Away with Words on the way. Stay tuned. You're listening to Away with Words, the show about language and how we use it. I'm Grant Barrett.
And I'm Martha Barnett. Daniel Mendelsohn is a widely acclaimed author, critic, and essayist, and he has a PhD in classics and teaches literature at Bard College in upstate New York. In 2001, he taught an undergraduate seminar on the great Greek epic, the Odyssey. But this one had an unusual twist because sitting in on the class, along with the young students, was the professor's 81-year-old father, J. Mendelsohn. Daniel Mendelsohn tells the story of that semester and more in a moving book called An Odyssey, A Father, a Son, and an Epic. His dad had been a kid from the Bronx who stubbornly worked his way up to become a research scientist and mathematician. He was this gruff absolutist who reveled in the precision of numbers, and he was somebody who always said, if something's not hard, it's not worth doing. So the book is this delightful chronicle of contrast because there's the dapper, urbane, younger Mendelssohn who lives in the world of text and interpretation where meanings shift and multiply. And then there's his schlubby, opinionated dad who keeps interrupting with his own commentary, like demanding to know why everyone thinks Odysseus is such a hero. He says, he cheats on his wife, he sleeps with Calypso, he loses all of his men, so he's a lousy general. The younger Mendelssohn finds these interruptions embarrassing and frustrating, but the students love the old guy and his insights. So on one level, the book feels like taking this invigorating college class on the Odyssey, all for free. After the class, the father and son take a tour of the Aegean, retracing the voyage of Odysseus. So it becomes a book about travel writing, too. And one of the other things I really enjoyed about this book is is the passion that the younger Mendelssohn, the professor, brings to teaching. He writes, "Beauty and pleasure are at the center of teaching. For the best teacher is one who wants you to find meaning in the things that have given him pleasure too, so that the appreciation of their beauty will outlive him. In this way, because it arises from an acceptance of the inevitability of death, good teaching is like good parenting." There's so many lines in this book, Grant, where you just sort of like have to stop and put the book down to think about
I love
it.
the merging of those concepts, the
Yes.
relationship between father and son,
Yes.
the relationship between practicality and literature analysis, the relationship between the eras, the two different eras of the son it's very different than his father's era.
Right. And of course, it echoes the whole story in the Odyssey, Odysseus and his son Telemachus and his dad. And it's about fathers and sons and education and travel and so much more. It's a richly moving book.
So the book by Daniel Mendelssohn is called?
It's called An Odyssey, a Father, a Son, and an Epic.
We'll link to Daniel Mendelssohn's book on our website at waywardradio.org. And Martha and I are always delighted to hear what you're reading. You can call or text toll-free in the United States and Canada, 877-929-9673, or email us words@waywardradio.org.
Hello, you have a way with words.
Hi, this is Lisa. I live in Paris, Kentucky.
Hey, Lisa, we're glad to have you.
Well, I was interested in finding out if you knew anything about a kind of cookie we used to have at Christmas. It's called Hobelspäne, and it's got one of those little double dot things above one of the letters. I'm not sure which one. But I was just interested in finding out more about it. It's a cookie we used to have at our friend's house in Miami at Christmas every year. I just wanted to find out if you knew anything about it. I can't find out anything about it.
Hobelspäne. Well, that sounds like it's got some German roots.
Mm-hmm. So is it their family that's got the German heritage or yours?
Theirs.
Okay.
Yeah. We used to go over there every Christmas, and they introduced us to it. And then we learned how to make it. It's a little complicated, but it's really cool.
In brief, how do you make them?
Well, it's like mostly dough with butter and a little bit of lemon and a little bit of rum, and you cut it into a rectangle, like about 1.5 by 3 or something like that. And then you put a slice down the middle vertically, and then you fold one end through it so it looks like a little bow tie, and then you deep fry it, and then you cover it with powdered sugar.
Yeah. So the word that we're talking about here, Hobelspäne, is Hobelspa with a 2 dots on top of it, and then NE. Mm-hmm. That's the plural form. The singular is Hobelspäne. And you know what it translates directly as? Wood shavings or planing chips, because they look a little bit, particularly in some other varieties of this dessert, they look a little bit like the shavings that you get when you smooth the surface of wood with a plane. And sometimes they'll be called Hobelschachten with about the same meaning. Basically meaning planing shavings, that sort of thing. And so the shavings refers to that twisted shape that they get. And some of the other varieties, instead of putting kind of the leg of the rectangle through the slit that you've made in the dough, you actually just put a couple slits, and the frying or the baking of them, because you can do it both ways depending on your recipe, will naturally make them curl up like a shaving of wood.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I have never heard of anything like that.
And so I think I've got something that will blow your mind.
Okay.
I found a recipe for this from 1795.
No way.
In a book from Lower Saxony, a cookbook by a woman named Friederike Louise Loeffler. And she has a recipe, and it sounds so much like yours. And I've translated it here. But basically, you take the dough from 2 eggs and a nut of butter, as she phrases it, flour and a little salt, and roll it out. And then when it's hardened a little, you cut 2 finger widths of them with a baking wheel. And then you bake them in a little bit until they're light and yellow, and then sprinkle them with sugar. And that sounds a lot like your recipe.
Huh.
Yeah.
That is really interesting, although I never considered baking it in the oven. That's
Yeah,
really
I bet it's a
strange.
little healthier, but which is not very German of them because the Germans say, "How can I add more fat to this recipe?" I come from German
Yes,
heritage on two sides, and let me tell you, the tendency towards fat baked goods is very, very ingrained.
that's pretty funny. It does have 6 tablespoons of butter in it. So,
Absolutely.
Wow.
I saw one recipe that was literally a pound of butter. That is a lot of butter.
wow.
Oh my
Um,
That is
gosh.
I'm going to give you a word, Lisa, that you can Google, and it's for the
okay.
category of this German baked good, and it's the deep fried
Okay.
stuff, and it's Schmalzgebäck, Schmalzgeba with 2 dots on it. Although you can leave it off for Google, doesn't care. CK, Schmalzgebäck. And you're going to find tons of recipes and variations from all over the German-speaking world. But not only that, but from nearby countries like Hungary and Poland. Another word that I really loved was Schmalzgebäck Streifen. And it basically means lard pastry strips. They're not
Ugh.
shy about saying that there's lard in there instead of butter.
You know,
Yeah,
I live in eastern Kentucky, and they said if they knew what lard was, they'd put it in a pan and fry it. So,
Well, there are parts of his food history where people do just literally eat fried fat. That's just, if that's what they had, that's what they ate.
absolutely. Sounds delicious.
Well, Lisa, happy baking.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Well, thank you so much. We love your show. We listen to it every week.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Although it's in ancient German and the old style script, we will link to that cookbook from 1795 so you can take a stab at it yourself. And we'll,
Yeah,
of course,
try it
include the
yourself.
recipe in English on our website at waywardradio.org. Hello, you have a way with words.
Hello, this is Tom Harris from Bluebell, Pennsylvania.
Hi, Tom. Welcome to the program. What's up?
Well, I've always had a question about a baseball term. The announcers frequently, when they're calling a game, will say that the batter takes for a ball 2 or a ball 3 or a ball 4. And I never knew where the term take comes from. I didn't know if it came from takes a pass, takes a gander, takes a I don't know what, but I'd love to know where that expression was derived.
Yeah, batters have been advised by managers to take a ball since the mid 1850s or so, and I think by take, Grant, wouldn't you say it's like taking one for the team? You're sort of forcing yourself,
Yeah, I don't
to,
know that
to
that's
hold
the
back
origin,
and
but yeah,
restrain
that's
yourself.
yeah, that's perfect. You're allowing yourself to be in a disadvantaged situation because ideally you should be swinging at all pitches, good pitches that come across the plate. But because there may be something better happening in the next pitch, you're going to wait on it. And so you're putting yourself in just a little bit of a disadvantage.
Yeah, and there was a thesis written by Edward J. Nichols at Penn State. He wrote a thesis called An Historical Dictionary of Baseball Terminology that's super detailed, and he dates this expression all the way back to 1854, talking about letting a fair pitched ball go past without offering to strike it. And the need for a specific term like this arose after there were big rule changes in the 1800s. Batters originally had the right to request either a high pitch or a low pitch. And then once they established the modern strike zone and called strikes that made batters have to decide, in a split second, they adopted this term to describe that deliberate choice of just, holding back, restraining yourself, and letting the ball go across the plate.
But you don't think it's an abbreviation for something like take a pass, take a look.
Well,
No, take is, so to speak, one of those utility players in the English language, and take has a lot of accompanying and modifying and assisting roles with other language and other words. So take itself is more of a helping verb in this situation, although I don't think it fits the strict definition of a helping verb.
Okay, well, that's very helpful. Well, thank you, and I'll take a look next time I hear him say it and think of what you've told me.
Tom, there's one last thing I want to leave you with since you seem so interested in the old rules about, calling your pitch. There's a cool website called protoball.org, protoball.org, and they have all the old rules of baseball. They have all the old stats that guys who are obsessive about this stuff have gone through old records and newspapers and recorded every game they could find, way far back to like the beginning of baseball. And my favorite thing about it is they have this glossary of games that seem like baseball but aren't really baseball. Just fascinating stuff.
So we'll take a look for that too. How's that?
Yeah.
Take a look.
We'll work it out. Well, that's great. Well, thank you guys so much. Great show. Love it every week.
Thank you.
Thank you
Good
so much.
talking with
Take
you.
care now. Call or text toll free in the United States or Canada, 877-929-9673, or go to our website at waywardradio.org and find all of our past episodes and a lot more ways to reach us. Hello, you have a way with words.
Hi, this is Martha from Tallahassee, Florida.
Oh, Martha. Can never have too many Marthas in my life. What's going on, Martha?
That was the right thing to say, Grant. Hi, Martha.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Hi, Martha. Oh, gee, there's an echo.
What's on your mind?
When I was a lot younger, like when I was a child, and even now when I see a really old movie on TV or something, like the people after dinner or after lunch, they say, "Oh, I'm going for my constitutional." And I was like, what? Constitutional? Why
Right.
do they call it?
Are they going down to Liberty Hall to sign a parchment? What are they doing?
Yeah, really, really. And it with an AL on the end, it sounds like an adjective.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is a walk, a leisurely walk after dinner. In Germany, they take a spazieren gehen, they go spazieren gehen, which is a leisurely walk after dinner to help digest.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, but why do they call it a constitutional? That just doesn't make any sense to me.
It's pretty straightforward. There are two senses of the word constitutional, one referring to the legal document and the other the other one, as you said, going for a walk for your health. And they both go back to the Latin root constitutere, which means to set up or to establish or make something what it is, its essence. So the Latin word constitutio meant character or disposition or nature, and it could also mean an imperial order, an order from the emperor.
Ooh.
And when that word found its way into English, it began to develop two different kinds of meanings around in the 1500s, and one was political. A constitution establishes a government, right? It's the fundamental laws. And the other was bodily. It was your constitution as the fundamental makeup of your body and your inherent strength and your health. So your constitution was something that was foundational to you in the way that a constitution is foundational to a government. And then the word constitutional as an adjective also came to mean beneficial to one's bodily constitution, good for your health. And then by the early 1800s, you see constitutional being used as a noun, probably first in British colleges, talking about a constitutional being exercise that you take for health. In 1859, there was an article in the United States in the New England Farmer that was urging Americans to, as they put it, adopt what John Bull calls his constitutional walk, John Bull being Briton. And so that's where we get the idea that it was probably a British term that came over here. And do you remember Harry Truman taking constitutionals every morning? He was really famous for...
I don't actually remember that, but I'm sure that he did, if you say so.
Yeah, he was famous for taking these 7 a.m. walks that reporters had to sort of jog to keep up with because he did that for his health. He was very proud of that. So,
do people say that much anymore? I don't hear
say
it.
I think they say it with a wink, though, don't they?
Yeah.
I
I mean, I talked to my dog about going for his daily constitutional. But I think I got that from a relative early on who was really proud of taking a constitutional.
There's two things that I want to pop in here. One is that there's
Yes.
another archaic meaning of a constitutional, and that is not walking, but sexual activity, which was also seen as good for the health.
Oh,
Yeah. And then Martha had mentioned that for some reason constitutionals were very connected to Oxford and Cambridge in the United Kingdom. And as a matter of fact, if you look at the historical record at Cambridge, people would take vigorous 8-mile walks in under 2 hours and do things like jump hedges and ditches. And their constitutions were very vigorous. They weren't just a lollygagging around a circle.
Those hedges are pretty high. That's
wow.
impressive.
There's a lot of history to this.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
So something to ponder on your next constitutional.
Thank you, Martha. You take care of yourself.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Call or text toll free in the United States and Canada, 877-929-9673.
Away with Words senior producer is Stephanie Levine. Tim Felton is our engineer and editor, and John Chinesky is our quizmaster.
Go to waywardradio.org for all of our past episodes, podcast links, and ways to reach us.
If you have a language thought or question, the toll-free line is always open in the U.S. and Canada, 1-877-929-9673.
Away with Words is an independent nonprofit production of Wayward Inc.
It's supported by listeners and organizations who are changing the way the world talks about language.
Although we're not a part of NPR, we thank NPR stations throughout the United States that carry the show.
And special thanks to our nonprofit's volunteer board, Michael Breslauer, Josh Eccles, Claire Grotting, Meryl Perlman, Bruce Rogo, Rick Seidenworm, and Betty Willis.
Thanks for listening. I'm Grant Barrett.
And I'm Martha Barnett. Until next time, goodbye.
So long.